Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Wild Force episode, Fishing for a Friend. I really like this one. This is one of my favorite episodes of Wild Force. So it starts out, Jindrax receives a message through that mirror he's been carrying around for the last few episodes. Is there some relevance to the mirror? Because from like I haven't skipped any episodes. Yeah, I haven't skipped any episodes. Uh So, what's the deal with the mirror that Jindrax happens to have these last couple of episodes? It's kind of important. Like, it keeps coming up. He uses it to deflect Onikage's blast at him. Toxica is able to talk to him through it. Later on in this episode, he uses it to save Toxica. And I don't know. I can't remember if the mirror possibly had, like, some extra relevance in Ranger. That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming whenever there's something weird in Power Rangers, it's kind of head scratching. It's like, well, I don't know, maybe they did it in the Sentai. Or the Green Morphin Master did it. Did the Green Morphin Master give Jindrax the mirror? Probably now. So whatever, anyway, Toxica tells him that she's in the Org spirit world and that the power that sent her there can bring her back. And meanwhile, the Rangers are worried about Shayla, but they don't have time to worry about that because there's a new Org showing up, and then we cut to Jindrax wandering around town thinking to himself about what Toxica said. And this scene always seemed really weird to me, even as a kid, because when I was a kid, I was a big fan of like Beetleborgs and the other Saban shows, and one of the seemingly like common tropes in those is the monsters, no matter what they look like even if they look like Jara from Beetleborgs, she was. Oh, actually, I think I. Oh, nope, I don't have that toy there anymore. Okay, whatever. She doesn't really look like a monster. She looks like a person wearing a mask. There's nothing remotely monstery about her. Same with Toxica in Wild Force. There's not really anything monstery about her. She looks human. She just looks like she's wearing a weird outfit. But no matter what someone looks like, if they're like a bad guy in Power Rangers or whatever tokusatsu show, civilians will run away from them no matter what. No matter what they look like. They can look as human as possible, but unless they're like actively disguising themselves as human, then people are going to run away from them. But here, Jindrax is just able to walk around, and people don't really seem to treat him any differently from a normal person. It's really weird, and I can't think of too many other times that's happened. Like, one of the other major times I can think of that happened was back in Turbo in Trouble by the Slice, when Divatox loses her memory and she's wandering around town and she goes into the pizza place and everybody's just treating her like she's a person. When any time before or after that, people would see her and run away because they just, I don't know, instinctively know she's a bad guy. Whatever. Anyway, this is an interesting thing I thought. I've always thought while watching this episode. So then, let's see. Jindrax remembers that Toxico was hit by the Ranger's Jungle Blaster, and so then he makes a plan. And let's see, he goes into a fishing shop to get some tools, and he picks up a fishing pole and line. Then he starts to leave the store, and the cashier asks him to pay for it. So then, and this is a scene that's always stood out to me as being really weird. And a few years ago, I really overthought this. Let's see. When the guy asks him to pay for the stuff he took, Jindrax turns around, then he, like, pats the side of his pants as if he had pockets there, and then he's like, uh. Oh, my notes jumped. Whoa, that was weird. Anyway, he takes a little silver wallet out from somewhere, and, oh, the little wallet, it's silver with a pink star on it. I think this is like an actual wallet that the prop people must have had or found somewhere, and they just thought, oh hey, the color scheme kind of matches Jindrax, so good on them. Anyway, he pulls out a little card from it, and it's a credit card that says Org Express. Never leave the cave without it, and apparently the cashier takes it, because later Jindrax has all the stuff that he bought. I'll talk about the credit card thing at the end. the Rangers meet up with Merrick, and they face down the new Org, Locomotive Org, who's a pretty cool looking Org. He's a train Org. He has this like metal body. He's very like steam engine inspired, and there's like a little pump on his head that like blows steam out. That's kind of cool. He's a cool looking monster. It's unfortunate that he's just kind of wasted in this episode. He's the type of monster that I wish they could have done at the beginning when they were doing more character focused stuff, because then I feel like we might have been able to get some personality out of him, or there might have been some story revolving around him being a train monster specifically, but nah, he's just a generic monster. It could have been any monster. So then Jindrax happens to see the Rangers fighting with the Org, so he's like, oh cool, I'll sit back and wait for them to shoot him with the Jungle Blaster. And then meanwhile, we see Master Org is preparing for some kind of ceremony. He's setting these things around and chanting to himself. And then cut away from that, back to the Rangers. They're losing, and Jindrax is like, oh no. And then he's like, maybe I should like help them. So then, let's see, he jumps in with the Locomotive Org, and he's like, oh yeah, Locomotive Org kind of recognizes Jindrax. He's like, whoa, you're a Duke Org. And Jindrax is like, yeah, and then the Rangers are like, oh no, we can't take both of them. But then Jindrax grabs Locomotive Org, and he's like, quick, Rangers, shoot him with your Jungle Blaster. And the Rangers are like, what? Why is he helping us? Who cares? Use it, bang. So then they fire the blaster at the monster, and then Jindrax holds out Toxika's horn in front of the blast, and it absorbs it, and the blast goes through it, hits Locomotive Org, and also hits him. Okay. Anyway, let's see. He's okay. Locomotive Org is destroyed. He gets up, and the Rangers are like, thanks, Jindrax. And then Jindrax is all like, well, I didn't help you. And then, just to spite the Rangers, I guess, he suddenly has Toxika's staff. I missed that. Huh. Don't know where he got it from. Anyway, he, revives the, Locomotive Org, which is really surreal to see Jindrax doing Toxika's rhyme and incantation thing. And anyway, he brings Locomotive Org back to life as a giant, and Locomotive Org isn't happy about being blown up. And then Jindrax is like, hey, I'm a Duke Org, you're supposed to listen to me. But he's not concerned with it, he just runs away, and Locomotive Org turns on the Rangers, and then, let's see, the Rangers call the Zords. And then, let's see, Jindrax goes back to his little hiding spot, and he lowers Toxika's horn into the mirror with his fishing pole. And this is a cool effect. It, like, goes through the mirror, and then, let's see. So he's sitting there with it in there for a while, but he can't find Toxika. Then, meanwhile, the Rangers are fighting with Locomotive Org, and there is kind of a cool Zord fight. It's, I don't know, it kind of drags a little bit to me, because the Rangers aren't really the focus of the story. Jindrax and Toxika are. It seems like I want to see more of like what he's doing or what Toxika's doing. I don't really care so much about the Rangers and the random Org. But whatever, it is kind of a clever fight scene. The Locomotive Org causes the Zords to disassemble, and he damages a bunch of them. So then Cole tries to put together a new combination of the Isis Megazord with the Zords that are still willing to fight. Let's see, it powers up, destroys the Org, then back to the real story with Jindrax. He still has the fishing pole down the little mirror thing into the Org spirit world, and then he feels something tug on it. It's Toxika grabbing her horn. He reels her up, and then brings Toxika back into the real world, and it's really cool. And then later on, they're sitting on those swing sets that they were way back early on in the series, talking to themselves. They're talking to each other about looking out for themselves and not listening to what any of the higher-up Orgs say. And then we see Shayla is still imprisoned by Master Org. Master Org goes up to her and takes her necklace away. And Shayla just looks really confused, and that's where the episode ends. It's a pretty good episode. Can't really think of too much else to say about it, so I'll just read my other notes here. Let's see. Jindrax is, like, the best part of this episode, and this is easily one of his best episodes. Definitely one of his best performances, his best appearances in the series. The comedy with him interacting with the people is clever. even if it doesn't really make sense for people to be as accepting of him as they are. I love the scene where he pretends to, or well, where he actually does pay for his stuff. And let's see, right here is where I talked about that scene where he like pats the side of his pants as if he had conventional pockets. When I first saw that, it immediately made me remember way back in the very first episode when we first see him and Toxica, and they're in human disguise. And it made me wonder how long were they in human disguise. Like, when Master Org shows up, they tell him that we've been waiting for your arrival for however many thousand years. And I was wondering, were they humans the whole time? So I wondered, after all that time, did he pick up subconscious habits from being human? Like, they had jobs at the animal testing lab, so I assume he must have, like, had money or something, so... that's interesting. I always wondered... Also, afterwards, that never comes back. The animal lab and them having jobs never comes back, so it made me wonder, like, did they have friends or anything in the human world that they just completely forgot about? What did the people who knew them think? Surely there must have been people who worked with them, if they had a job. Whatever, anyway. Oh yeah, the credit card thing is obviously inspired by the Bat credit card from Batman and Robin. They even keep the line, never leave the cave without it, though in Jindrax's case it's Master Org's lair, which is a cave, not the Bat Cave. It's funny how the same line still works here. Oh, also, Batman and Robin, I think, was the movie that's like on the advertised on the movie theater, and Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation in a bunch of episodes. So that's a neat little connection there. I'm wondering if somebody at Saban saw that and really liked it, so that's why they decided to just steal that scene verbatim. Anyway, one of the things that made me think too much was the internal logic of Jindrax having a credit card really doesn't make any sense, since the Orgs, as they are, there's only a few of them alive at a time, and surely there's no way that Jindrax could get enough other Orgs to organize and utilize hypothetical currency by way of a credit card. Also, where would he even use how's the credit card even compatible with, like, if they have a scanner or something at the store where he bought the fishing pole? Yeah, it's just a joke, but it's fun to think about. So then, let's see, Shayla remains captured, and the Rangers are still upset about it. Yeah, for the last couple of episodes, Shayla's imprisoned and the Rangers are depressed. It's a really odd, like, tone shift from the rest of Wild Force, where, like, I don't know, the Animarium seemed to be, like, the safe spot, but now it'd be kind of like if Ernie got kidnapped back in Mighty Morphin and he stayed kidnapped for a while. Or Zordon, I guess. Let's see. One of the things I really liked about this is it shows some complexity to Jindrax's character, where he's not willing to completely denounce being a villain, but he's still sympathetic and is helping the Rangers, even if it wasn't specifically to help them, shows another side to him that we rarely see villains express. It's a really cool scene. I really love that scene. I love that he brings a Zord, or the Org, back to life. Not so much because he actually cares about defeating the Rangers, but more just out of spite because they thanked him, and he's not ready to accept them as, like, allies or anything against Master Org or whoever his main enemy would be now. So, that's it for this one. I really liked this episode, and let's see what's coming up next. Oh wow, almost to the end. We got 3 episodes left. And I have some plans for after I finish Wild Force, so yep, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.